This course is a recording of an e-learning training. Audio narrations play throughout the course. You will not be able to navigate through the recording using the seat bar. However, you will be able to select closed captions if needed. All external links, as well as resources provided as part of the training, will be available in the YouTube description. Welcome to this course titled Records and Reporting. This course is developed as part of the Washington State Department of Children, Youth and Families, TCYF's efforts to prepare group care licensors for their roles and responsibilities as it pertains to interpreting, understanding, and applying the Washington Administrative Code, WAC, in licensing group care facilities, GCF. This course is designed to introduce you to the amended WAC requirements related to records and reporting within GCS. This course will focus on changes to the current WAC and specific amended language to pay particular attention to. Upon completion of this course, participants will have a shared understanding of the intent of the WAC covered in this module, know and understand the negotiated rulemaking, NRM, and strength-based principles associated with the WAC covered in this module, become familiar with the amended WAC that regulates group care facility requirements, become familiar with the standards related to records and reporting. Learn practices to comply with records and reporting standards. As we cover the material in this course, keep in mind the application of the following guiding principles. We will expand on these as they apply to the WAC covered in this course and provide you with an opportunity to assess your understanding and application of the course content. General principles. Group care licensees have a responsibility to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of children and youth in care. DCYF is responsible for protecting the children and youth in licensed group care programs and conduct non-biased, equitable assessments of group care providers who apply for licensure. All licensed group care providers are required to operate facilities and provide services to children and youth in care in accordance with the Revised Code of Washington, RCW, WAC, and DCYF policy and procedures. NRM principles, prioritizing youth safety and well-being above all else. Creating developmentally and culturally appropriate rules that meet the needs of children and youth placed in care. Minimizing barriers and reducing undue burden on the part of caregivers. Offering differentiation and flexibility between care settings to help support a variety of programs across the state serving children and youth with diverse needs. Strength-based approach principles. Reducing bias. Checking biases helps reduce their influence on decision-making and builds fairness and equity in licensing practices. Recognizing strengths. Acknowledge and value licensees' expertise, consistent areas of compliance, and capabilities to learn, grow, and change. Fostering understanding. Focus on a shared understanding of WAC intent and approach areas of noncompliance with curiosity to promote safe, thriving environments for children and youth. Achieving collaborative compliance. Honor cultural differences and perspectives to identify diverse methods of achieving compliance with WAC intent. Collaborative compliance principles. Shared decision-making. Collaborative compliance thrives on licensors and licensees working together to meet both WAC intent and child and youth safety and well-being needs. Encouraging innovation. Collaborative compliance relies on licensors empowering licensees to think creatively about customizing WAC compliance solutions to better meet the developmental and cultural needs of children and youth in care. Empowering licensees as experts. Collaborative compliance assumes that licensees are the experts of their facilities, homes, and programs. Embracing perspective and critical thinking. Collaborative compliance requires critical thinking from both licensors and licensees. We begin with the basics of records and reporting in group care practice. There are many components to protecting the well-being of children and youth in group care settings, records and reporting included. The rules and regulations, known as the WAC, that protect children and youth in group care facilities include guidance on how to collect, create, and store records related to both personnel and the children and youth in care. The WAC pertaining to record keeping and reporting includes guidance on critical practices that are essential for the well-being of children and youth in care, including when and how to report incidents and situations, and how to store those reports. Documenting that personnel who interact with children and youth in group care meet required qualifications. Personnel records are stored and maintained according to rules and standards. Child and youth records are stored properly to maintain privacy and comply with all local, state, and federal regulations. Incidents and events that threaten the safety of children and youth in group care are reported in a timely manner, providing essential information with an emphasis on child safety and well-being. This course will cover the following sections from Chapter 110-145 WAC Records and Reporting. WAC 110-145-2710 Personnel Records. WAC 110-145-2780 Reporting Incidents. WAC 110-145-2790 Reporting Children and Youth Missing from Care. WAC 110-145-2800 Alternate Reporting Requirements for Licensed Facilities Serving Runaway and Homeless Children and Youth. WAC 110-145-2810 Reporting Facility, Program, and Licensee Changes. WAC 110-145-2860 Admission and General Record Keeping. WAC 110-145-2890 Children's and Youth's Well-Being Files. WAC 110-145-2900 Sharing records or information about children, youth, or their families. WAC 110-145-2910 Medical Records Requirements. WAC 110-145-2920 Retention of Children's and Youth's Records After Facility Closure. WAC 110-145-3010 Records for Each Shift. These revised standards enable DCYF to collaborate with providers in adopting developmentally and culturally appropriate and flexible practices that better support the unique needs of children and youth in care. We will start by discussing personnel records. To begin our review of record keeping and reporting requirements, we will start with WAC 110-145-2710 Personnel Records. This WAC outlines a requirement for licensees to document and maintain comprehensive personnel files as part of their responsibility to ensure the safety and well-being of the children and youth in care. These records serve multiple purposes, including verifying that personnel meet the qualifications and standards necessary for their roles. Each personnel file must include documentation such as employment applications, evidence of qualifications, background checks, required immunizations, job-specific training, continuing education, and other related records. These requirements reflect the critical importance of employing qualified, well-prepared individuals in group care settings. Maintaining up-to-date and complete personnel records not only helps ensure compliance with regulations, but also supports the integrity and quality of care provided to children and youth. The overall intent of WAC 110-145-2710, previously WAC 110-145-1510, is to establish clear standards for the collection and maintenance of personnel information by licensees. This includes specifying what information must be documented for each personnel member and how that information must be securely stored. This WAC has been updated to reduce the administrative burden on licensees and their personnel, while still ensuring that children, youth, and families receive high-quality care. This WAC has been amended to provide updated language. First, the requirement for licensees to submit personnel records to DCYF has been removed, easing unnecessary obligations for both licensees and their personnel. Additionally, the WAC now allows an employee or prospective employee to submit an affidavit affirming high school graduation if they are unable to provide a diploma. This provision supports qualified individuals who meet the experience and education requirements, but may face challenges in accessing documentation. Importantly, these changes continue to uphold DCYF's authority and responsibility for licensing oversight. WAC 110-145-2780 Reporting Incidents provides clear and essential guidance to GCS on the types of incidents that must be reported, the proper procedures for reporting them, and the required reporting timelines. This regulation, which incorporates requirements from previous WACs 110-145-1520, 110-145-1535, and 110-145-1845, outlines the licensee's responsibility to promptly report incidents that impact the health, safety, or well-being of children and youth in care. This includes events such as injuries, allegations of abuse or neglect, unauthorized absences, or any situation that may compromise a child's or youth's safety. The intent of this WAC is to ensure the safety and well-being of the children and youth in group care by requiring facilities to document and report specific information about incidents and events that occur during their stay. Accurate and timely reporting supports transparency, accountability, and responsiveness within the facility. It helps ensure that appropriate care, support, and interventions are provided, and that any concerns impacting a child's or youth's safety are promptly addressed. Ultimately, the goal of this regulation is to uphold the highest standards of protection and oversight, reinforcing that child and youth safety and well-being remain the primary concern in all aspects of care. Language in the WAC has been updated and clarified. There have also been some incidents added to subsection 1B that must be reported to the LD licensor, including the following. 1. A child's or youth's self-inflicted physical injury not intended as a suicide attempt that requires off-site medical treatment. 6. Missed medication that requires off-site medical attention. 7. Discovery of contraband on the premises as defined by the licensee's policies and procedures. 12. Significant property damage on the licensed premises caused by children or youth. 13. Suspected or known gang recruitment of or activity by a child or youth. The next WAC we will review is WAC 110-145-2790, Reporting Children and Youth Missing from Care. This WAC provides specific guidance on when and how to report children and youth who are missing from care. It emphasizes the licensee's responsibility to act promptly and appropriately to protect the child or youth. The regulation requires licensees to develop and implement department-approved policies and procedures that detail how to respond when a child or youth is absent from care without permission. This WAC incorporates requirements from the previous WAC numbered 110-145-1520 and 110-145-1540, and the updates reflect a shift toward clearer expectations and improved responsiveness. The revised WAC includes refined language to better define the licensee's responsibilities. One notable change is the requirement for the licensee to develop and follow written policies and procedures that outline the facility's response when a child or youth is reported missing. Additionally, for children and youth who have demonstrated a pattern of certain behaviors, the WAC allows the licensee to create an individualized plan tailored to that child or youth, and that differs from the facility response plan. Another key update mandates that, when reporting a child or youth as missing to law enforcement, the licensee must provide a recent photograph of the child or youth to aid in their recovery. These updates support improved coordination, timely action, and ultimately, greater protection of children and youth in care. Additional updates to this WAC include important changes regarding youth in extended foster care, EFC. Under the previous version of this rule, EFC youth were exempt from the missing from care reporting requirements. However, the revised WAC removes that exemption as licensees are now required to report EFC youth missing from care. This change ensures consistent safety measures for all children and youth in care. Furthermore, the updated WAC clarifies that licensees are not authorized to give consent on behalf of a child or youth for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, to release their information. This restriction reinforces existing protections around the privacy and confidentiality of children and youth. As with previous WAC in this module, the updates to this regulation are designed to be both developmentally and culturally appropriate. They reflect a commitment to meeting the unique needs of children and youth in care while promoting practices that prioritize their safety, dignity, and overall well-being. We now turn our attention to WAC 110-145-2800 titled Alternate Reporting Requirements for Licensed Facilities Serving Runaway and Homeless Children and Youth. Previously numbered WACs 110-145-1545 and 110-145-1930, this rule has been updated to reflect the unique needs and circumstances of runaway and homeless youth. The intent of this WAC is to protect children and youth who may have run away or are experiencing homelessness by ensuring they have access to safe and supportive shelter environments. It recognizes the urgent need for stability and care while balancing the rights of parents or guardians by preserving a parent or guardian's rights to parent their child or youth by contacting or attempting to contact them for permission and to review public information on missing children and youth to ensure their safety and well-being. This WAC includes updated and refined language consistent with the broader revisions throughout the group care chapter. A notable addition is the requirement that a GCF must contact the department if they are unable to reach the parent or guardian to obtain permission for the child or youth to temporarily reside in the facility. This updated WAC language and its revised requirements are designed to minimize barriers and reduce burdens for licensees, ultimately supporting them to more effectively care for and meet the needs of the children and youth in their facilities. By streamlining processes and clarifying expectations, these revisions align with the overarching goals of promoting child and youth safety, stability, and well-being. Now we will move on to the next WAC in this module. WAC 110-145-2810, titled Reporting Facility, Program, and Licensee Changes, was previously WAC 110-145-1550. This rule outlines the requirements for licensed facilities to notify their LD licensor of significant changes related to their operations. These changes may include alterations to the facility structure, the services being offered, or updates to licensee contact information. The WAC ensures that licensors are kept informed of developments that may impact the safety, quality, or compliance status of the licensed program. By requiring timely communication of these changes, the rules support effective oversight and help maintain high standards of care for children and youth served in licensed GCS. The intent of this WAC is to ensure that each group care license reflects the most current and accurate information about the licensee, facility, and program, which is essential for maintaining a safe and responsive environment for children and youth placed in care. The updated language in this WAC reflects a strength-based approach, emphasizing collaboration and clear communication between the licensee and department. This WAC was updated to streamline and clarify reporting requirements for licensees. One key update was the addition of language requiring licensees to report changes not only during the application process but also with any renewal application. The rule now explicitly includes the need to report changes to both email and mailing addresses, recognizing the importance of accurate and timely communication. Additionally, responsibilities for reporting changes to specific roles, such as the executive director, program manager, and care coordinator, including updates to their physical condition, have been relocated to their respective WAC. 110-145-2660, 110-145-2670, and 110-145-2680. Lastly, the updated WAC removes the requirement to report personnel changes, except as outlined in the relocated role-specific rules, thereby reducing administrative burden while maintaining essential oversight. Before we continue, let's test your learning. Review the question and select the best response. The intent of WAC 110-145-2800 is to protect children and youth who may have run away or are homeless and A. Designate the department to conduct the correct reporting. B. Report them to the appropriate licensee. C. Provide them with the opportunity for shelter in a safe environment. D. Ensure the child or youth's runaway or homeless status is included in their file. That's correct. Review the question and select true or false. According to WAC 110-145-2790, licensees are required to develop and follow policies and procedures outlining their response plan for missing children and youth. True or false? That's correct. New WAC 110-145-2790 requires licensees to develop and follow policies and procedures outlining their response plan for missing children and youth. WAC 110-145-2860, titled Admission and General Record Keeping, combines requirements from previous WAC 110-145-1520 and 110-145-1700. This rule provides guidance on the documentation and records licensees must maintain at the time a child or youth is admitted into a GCF. The intent of this WAC is to ensure that documentation and record-keeping support each child's or youth's care and well-being, while providing flexibility for licensees to determine the most effective method for organizing this information. Upon admission to a GCF, the licensee must collect key demographic and identifying information, including the date of entry, reasons for placement, the legal authority for placement, and contact details for the child's or youth's representative along with other required data. All information gathered at the time of admission must be included in the child and youth well-being file. This file is considered the property of the child or youth and must accompany them to any future placements. WAC 110-145-2860 was updated to clarify and streamline the documentation requirements. Several previously required items were removed, such as case plans, social summaries, documentation of treatment provided by personnel with signatures, legal status, discharge summaries, family assessments, and, for pregnant and parenting youth, information on the mother and father of the youth's child. This revision eliminates redundant or outdated documentation requirements, focusing instead on essential information. Additionally, certain requirements were relocated for clarity. The assessment of a youth's likelihood to remain in the facility was moved to WAC 110-145-3230, and documentation related to physical restraint incidents was moved to WAC 110-145-3200. These changes were made to better align content with the relevant WAC sections and improve usability for licensees. WAC 110-145-2890, titled Children's and Youth's Wellbeing Files, consolidates and updates multiple previous rules to provide comprehensive guidance on the documentation required to support the care and well-being of children and youth in licensed group care facilities. Specifically, this WAC combines provisions from previous WAC 110-145-1520 about requirements for child and youth records, WAC 110-145-1720 with guidance on child and youth social summaries, WAC 110-145-1725 about treatment plan requirements, and WAC 110-145-2075 regarding child and youth food requirements. The intent of this consolidated WAC is to streamline and clarify documentation practices, ensuring that all relevant information pertaining to a child's or youth's health, development, and day-to-day care is organized within a single, easily accessible file. The Child and Youth Wellbeing File is a comprehensive record that includes all documentation related to the care and services a child or youth receives while in the licensee's care. The intent of this WAC is to define clear standards for content, maintenance, and use of the wellbeing file. It outlines the specific information that must be included, expectations for documenting attempts to gather the required information, and guidance on who must have access to the file and what details must be shared. Additionally, It provides requirements specific to facilities licensed as Crisis Residential Centers, CRCs. This file serves as an essential tool for continuity of care as it follows the child or youth to future placements. This WAC includes new information related to the DS settlement. It addresses the needs of impacted children and youth during group care placements and establishes measures that address their future health and well-being. This WAC includes rules related to the records that document how the facility cares for children's and youth's personal belongings, medical records requirements, cultural needs, maintaining connections with family and supportive individuals, supporting peer relationships and participating in activities, technology use, education and vocational requirements, allowance, chores, and employment. This WAC does not prescribe how GCS must organize or store the records required in the child and youth well-being file. Instead, that discretion is left to each GCF to determine the best method for managing the required files based on their operational needs and the care they provide. While this flexibility can be beneficial, it may also lead to confusion among group care personnel and create challenges in ensuring consistent compliance. To address this, an overview of the child and youth well-being file, along with procedural training, will be provided in a later module. The next WAC we will review is WAC 110-145-2900, sharing records or information about children, youth, or their families. This WAC outlines specific requirements regarding confidentiality and appropriate sharing of sensitive information. In the previous WAC chapter, this rule was known as WAC 110-145-1530. This updated WAC clarifies the conditions under which information can be disclosed, who is authorized to receive it, and emphasizes the protection of the privacy and dignity of children, youth, and their families in care. The intent of this WAC is to safeguard sensitive information about children, youth, and their families by ensuring it is shared only with authorized individuals or entities, and only to the extent necessary to carry out responsibilities related to their care. Protecting privacy was a key concern raised by youth during the DS settlement and was a central focus throughout the NRM process. As a result, the updated WAC reflects heightened attention to confidentiality and is part of a broader set of group care rules in this new chapter that prioritize privacy and the dignity of those in care. Additional changes to this WAC provide clear guidance on who has the authority to designate with whom any information about a child, youth, and family can be shared. For instance, records may be shared with representatives of the department, a child's or youth's attorney, and their guardian ad litem. In the case of tribal children or youth, their tribal caseworker may designate one or more individuals to receive information deemed necessary for their care. Parents of community children or youth, or those under the custody of their parents or guardians, can specify with whom they would like information pertinent to their child's or youth's care to be shared. This WAC also includes specific guidance related to overnight youth shelters, OAS, and GCS that service runaway or homeless youth. Before we continue, let's test your learning. Review the question and select the best response. A child's or youth's well-being file is A file documenting their placement history. B, a file comprised of all information pertinent to a child's or youth's care that will remain with them in all future placements. C, a child's or youth's file restricted to medical and health records. That's correct. Review the question and select true or false. Licensees are required to submit personnel records to DCYF. True or false? That's correct. WAC 110-145-2910, titled Medical Records Requirement, outlines the procedures that GCS must follow to obtain, document, and maintain medical records for children and youth in their care. This is a new WAC that includes rules previously found in WAC 110-145-1520 and 110-145-1720. The intent of this WAC is to guide GCF personnel in obtaining all relevant medical records for children and youth in their care, ensuring thorough documentation of all medical health information within each child's or youth's well-being file. It emphasizes the proper maintenance and accessibility of these records to promote the safety and well-being of those in care. Additionally, this rule provides specific guidance for medically fragile children and youth who have been in group care for more than 30 days, ensuring they receive the necessary medical care and attention tailored to their needs. This WAC was updated to include a new requirement that enhances the continuity and quality of care provided to children and youth in licensed group care facilities. Specifically, the rule now requires documentation of any upcoming scheduled medical or dental appointments in the child's or youth's well-being file. This addition ensures that important healthcare follow-ups are not overlooked during a child's or youth's stay in care or during transitions between placements. However, this requirement does not apply to interim facilities, recognizing the temporary and often short-term nature of those placements. This change supports the overall goal of maintaining consistent medical care and reinforces the importance of proactive health management for children and youth in care. GCF personnel are required, as outlined in this regulation, to obtain or make reasonable and documented attempts to obtain all required medical documentation and health-related information from the required sources. If they are unable to obtain the information, it must clearly document their efforts in the child or youth well-being file. This process ensures transparency and accountability while reinforcing the importance of thorough record-keeping to support each child's or youth's care. For additional guidance on how to document and manage these records, personnel should refer to WAC 110-145-2890. We now turn our attention to WAC 110-145-2920, titled Retention of Children's and Youth's Records After Facility Closure, which was previously WAC 110-145-1525 in the previous group care chapter. The intent of this WAC is to provide clear guidance for how a GCF must manage and retain children's and youth's records following the closure of the facility, whether due to the termination, suspension, or expiration of its license or contract. This rule ensures continuity of care, accountability, and protection of sensitive information by establishing expectations for record preservation even after services have ended. This rule includes minor but important changes that strengthen the protection of children's and youth's privacy and sensitive information. Under the previous WAC chapter, GCS were permitted to destroy records for children and youth who were in their care. The updated WAC now mandates that GCFs notify the CYF LD of their facility closure and specify where the children's and youth's records will be securely stored after closure. This rule includes language that requires GCFs to return the files of children and youth served by the department either at the time of closure or no later than 6 years following the termination or expiration of their license. Next, we will review the final WAC in this module. Unlike the previous rule relating to group care personnel records, WAC 110-145-3010, titled Records for Each Shift, provides guidance on shift records related to the children and youth in care. The intent of this WAC is to protect the safety and well-being of children and youth in licensed group care by requiring licensees to document essential information and ensure it is readily accessible to personnel on duty. Having these records available during shifts equips personnel with the necessary information to effectively meet the needs of the children and youth in their care. Previously WAC 110-145-1515, this rule has been updated with revised language and additional requirements. New documentation elements now include serious safety or well-being concerns, illness or accidents, medications and treatments administered, and specifically for CRCs, hourly logs tracking the physical location of each youth. This concludes the content portion of this course. Thank you for your participation. Before this course ends, please take a moment to reflect and set personal goals related to the following guiding principles and ways that each of the principles relates to the work of LD licensing and group care facility professionals. General principles. Group care licensees have a responsibility to ensure the health, safety, and well-being of children and youth in care. DCYF is responsible for protecting the children and youth in licensed group care programs and conduct non-biased equitable assessments of group care providers who apply for licensure. All licensed group care providers are required to operate facilities and provide services to children and youth in care in accordance with the Revised Code of Washington, RCW, WAC, and DCYF policy and procedures. NRM principles. Prioritizing youth safety and well-being above all else. Creating developmentally and culturally appropriate rules that meet the needs of children and youth placed in care. Minimizing barriers and reducing undue burden on the part of caregivers. Offering differentiation and flexibility between care settings to help support a variety of programs across the state serving children and youth with diverse needs. Strength-based approach principles. Reducing bias. Checking biases helps reduce their influence on decision-making and builds fairness and equity in licensing practices. Recognizing strengths. Acknowledge and value licensees' expertise, consistent areas of compliance, and capabilities to learn, grow, and change. Fostering understanding. Focus on a shared understanding of WAC intent and approach areas of noncompliance with curiosity to promote safe, thriving environments for children and youth. Achieving collaborative compliance. Honor cultural differences and perspectives to identify diverse methods of achieving compliance with WAC intent. Collaborative compliance principles. Shared decision-making. Collaborative compliance thrives on licensors and licensees working together to meet both WAC intent and child and youth safety and well-being needs. Encouraging innovation. Collaborative compliance relies on licensors empowering licensees to think creatively about customizing WAC compliance solutions to better meet the developmental and cultural needs of children and youth in care. Empowering licensees as experts. Collaborative compliance assumes that licensees are the experts of their facilities, homes, and programs. Embracing perspective and critical thinking. Collaborative compliance requires critical thinking from both licensors and licensees. What takeaways do you have? How will you change your practices because of your participation in this learning module? This concludes this course on records and reporting. If you have questions following this session, please contact your supervisor. We hope this course has been helpful in providing information about the licensing role and job expectations. Our goal is that all licensing and group care professionals viewing this course have left with an increased understanding and knowledge of records and reporting, and that you will be able to apply your learning to your licensing or group care practice.